In our chief political anchor and special report. Bret Baier has got a special edition of his program tonight with Martha between 5 and 7 o'clock. I want to read a couple of things to you. First of all, color from our Brooke Singman, Fox Digital reporter, who says a source very familiar tells Fox Digital that as of last night, the message from President Biden and those around him was, quote, all systems go and campaign full speed ahead. Then at around 1:45 p.m., he notified senior team members that he had changed his mind. Let's get to what might have changed his mind, Bret, but also this statement from Barack and Michelle Obama, which does not endorse Kamala Harris. Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton have come out to endorse her. President Biden endorsed her. But here's what the Obamas say. We will be navigating uncharted waters in the days ahead, but I have extraordinary confidence that the leaders of our party will be able to create a process from which an outstanding nominee emerges. Ouch.
Yeah. This is going to be fascinating. I think that what we see over the next couple of days as far as Democrats and whether they coalesce around Kamala Harris is going to be really telling for the party. Already you're seeing some, significant endorsements in Congressional Black Caucus. Others, we just saw Senator Tammy Baldwin in a tough race in Wisconsin. She endorsed Kamala Harris. But notably, there are some who haven't. Bill and Hillary Clinton have. And you're going to see this yes, no, checking the box, whether there's going to be this mini primary or not. But just step back 30,000 feet for a second. The enormity of this action today, the fact that the President of the United States, who just yesterday, all his people were out on TV saying he was 100% in. This is just wrong that people are coming after him. There was a huge push. Jonathan Martin and others have reported that Team Biden in Delaware were making calls to delegates to make sure that they were on the line with Biden. They were still sticking with Biden, one by one. And then this turn. It has been 56 years since the President of the United States chose not to run for re-election when Lyndon Baines Johnson stepped down and did not run for re-election. Now Joe Biden is doing the same thing. And as mentioned before, I think you're going to see the former president really hit on how is he able to serve the final 5 months. You're seeing Republicans say that as well, as the Democrats try to figure out how this process is going to look. What looks like is real is that Chicago is going to be something that we haven't seen probably since 1968. And they say it's not going to be chaotic, John, but it's starting out that way.
They said that about 1968 as well. They had to put grease on the statue of General Grant so that people stopped climbing up it. I mean, Chicago 1968 was a disaster. Very dynamic inside the convention hall. I remember an old colleague of mine, Dan Rather, getting hauled away and famously saying, don't put your hands on me, don't put your hands on me unless you're going to arrest me. So it got very dynamic in there. But the historic parallels are really quite something here. You've got, first of all, the city. You've also got the fact that the Democratic nominee has dropped out. It's going to be some sort of open convention. And then you've got all of these protesters that are planning on turning out at the Democratic convention. Protesters who never showed up at the RNC, but they're targeting the DNC. I mean, this could be chaotic.
And really up in the air, depending on who they choose. If it is Kamala Harris, remember the other thing about the vice president is that they're going to come after Kamala Harris saying she knew all along what the real situation was behind the scenes, how diminished perhaps President Biden was or was getting. And that'll be part of the attack against the vice president. I think that who she, if she becomes the nominee, chooses as a running mate, and how that process goes will also affect the protests. But you're right, the Gaza-Israel protests are real. It's not ending. And this comes on a week when Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu speaks to Congress. He'll be here in Washington, D.C. It's a confluence of all of these things all at once. By the way, President Biden was scheduled to give an address at the LBJ Library in Austin, Texas, this week. It was supposed to mark the civil rights enaction of the civil rights law and the anniversary of that. Pretty ironic that LBJ stepping down from this nomination and all that's happened in the past few hours.
So Chad Pergram made the point a moment ago that the Republicans may launch an investigation into who knew about President Biden's condition and was it kept from the American people. So there's that. And then there's also the idea that if Joe Biden is not fit to run for re-election, can he continue as president?
I think that you're going to hear more and more of that from Republicans particularly. I think that in a hot area of trouble zones around the world, that will be a major point because enemies are looking at what we're doing. And at some point, you're going to have to see physically from President Biden. I know he's fighting COVID and apparently has a cough and a sore throat and it doesn't sound good. But at some point, this monumental of a decision, we'll have to see the President of the United States in person.
Because, I mean, there's two things at play here. First of all, there's Joe Biden has been given polling. We know this because it was said by, and I can't remember her name now, from California, said last week, I understand that you've been given polling that shows that you're not going to be able to win this race. So there's that aspect of it, that he's been shown polls, apparently, that say you're going to lose to President Trump. But then the cognitive thing is the other side of this. And the White House has been doing its best to poo-poo that and tell anybody who's asking those questions, you know, you're not only are you crazy, but, you know, you're anti-American for asking questions like that and these cheap fake videos that we're trying to pass off on America. So when Lyndon Johnson dropped out, it was simply because, hey, look, you're not going to win re-election. Let somebody else get in there who might be able to do a better job against Nixon. But there's the two things at play here with Biden.
Exactly. And, you know, it's hard to believe everything has moved so fast that June 27th was that debate. That's not that long ago. And since that time, the world has changed. Now, for some people who have been covering it all along and all of these videos and the things about the president's mental competency and questions about it, it wasn't a surprise. But for a lot of folks who hadn't been covering it, it was a surprise. And why was that so? I think that that's some of the questions. You've got a situation where the president of the United States is a key figure no matter how you look at it in the world. Yeah. And if he is not capable for 5 months and has to hand the baton off because of those questions, then why wouldn't he hand the baton of the presidency off to Kamala Harris to become the 47th president of the United States?
And we could talk about what effect that might have on her potential to become the nominee and her candidacy if she does become the nominee. This was like an all-call 5-alarm fire that went out. My colleague and co-anchor on America Reports, Sandra Smith, is in the studio with us now. Hey, Sandra.
Hi, John, and great to join the coverage here. Welcome, everybody. Everybody everywhere is talking about the news, John. Great to join the coverage now. You know, I was just talking to Dana on set here about how this is stunning some and others not so much. I mean, it's been the political conversation all over the country now for days and weeks, John. And reading through some of these notes, Politico right now highlighting the fact that the campaign staff were stunned by this decision. But as we were reporting throughout Friday, and obviously earlier than that, you're in the race until you're not, right?
Exactly.
So he had to say that he was in this to win it and that he was going. I mean, we listened to Kamala Harris's speech, 2 of them last week, where she says, we are in this to win it and we will win. We will see victory for this ticket. But she never really referenced Joe Biden. So she's been gearing up for this for quite some time. If you may, Bret, are you still with us?
I am.
Yes, he is.
You know, I'm just looking through some of these statements here. Elizabeth Warren, there's a rush to sort of secure his legacy, too, right? Because you think about all those who were supporting him all the way through this, Bret.
Yes, 100%. And, you know, even you have people that may potentially throw their name in the hat, their hat in the ring, rather, mixing metaphors there, like J.D. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, puts out a statement saying President Biden dedicated his life service to the nation and its citizens are the better for it, a storied political career. You know, speaking of political careers, it's more than 50 years. It's 52 years as a politician. To end everything like this is, you know, tough in the big picture. He is being lifted up on the left on various networks, saying that this was a heroic choice, and that he is saving the party, and that he is enabling them to have a fighting chance against former President Donald Trump, who obviously they see as a threat to democracy. Pretty ironic also that the process may be not that democratic in the end, in that 14 million Democrats voted for Joe Biden, and they may set up some logistics process where Chicago delegates make the decision behind the scenes in the convention.
All right. I know that you've got a busy couple of hours ahead of you, Bret, with the special edition of Special Report with your colleague Martha coming up. So we thank you, and we'll let you get ready for that. Appreciate it.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.